Carla here, also known online as the Beer Babe, at Beer Babe.
My name is Mike. I am the Robin to Seacoast Beverage Labs Batman. Can be found on Twitter at @Marriott.
Hey, I'm Norman. I'm known online as the Beer Nut or Real Beer Nut on Twitter.
Hello, this is Sean Jansen from TwoBeerGuys.com.
Brian from Seacoast Beverage Lab, and this is the Seacoast Beverage Lab podcast. Right. Hey everybody, what's going on? We are live. Episode number 55 of the Seacoast Beverage Lab podcast, October 14th, 2013. We keep getting the special guests rolling in, but this one might be setting the bar. I'm not going to spoil it until we get to them, but again, great night here in New Hampshire, and I'm drinking the Sakopi Pills by Paul Davis of Prodigal Brewery, and he might be here talking to us in a second, but let's go over to Carla. What's going on, Carla?
Hey, Carla here, known online as the Beer Babe. I'm writer for Portland Press Herald and for my own blog, thebeerbabe.com. I'm actually a little late to the party, and I'm drinking a heady topper.
Hey, nice. Hey, as long as we can get you that can.
About a week late.
Yeah.
A week late.
week late and a can short. Norm.
Hey, Norman Miller, known online as the Beer Nut, from the Metro West Daily News and Real Beer Nut on Twitter, and I'm drinking the Effinghammer Weiss tonight.
Now, I might have to have you get up and go get a bottle later because I forgot to bring it upstairs with me. But congratulations to your first beer named after you, made for you, and now is in bottles. So,
oh, thank you.
Great beer. Look at it right there. Look at that bottle.
More of laziness.
For everyone else
yesterday.
listening, it's the norm.
It's the norm. Was it oatmeal chocolate coconut stout? With a little bit of norm in each bottle, but we can't get into that.
Just for the record, I had nothing to do with the brewing. I just pestered Ben Roche from Wormtown for 2 years until he broke down and brewed it.
It was great, and it's out in stores. The stores have it, so get in there.
Yep.
So get it before Norm does, because it's basically his beer. And we got Shano flying in today.
How's it going? I'm Sean Jansen from TwoBeerGuys.com. I am currently drinking the Effingham Burger Brow, which is a Munich-style golden lager.
Ah, God bless you. Nice. Well, sorry, Carla, again, we can't meet up to give you the bottles, but you'll have the bottle next week, I promise. From the brewery, Prodigal, the brewmaster and owner, Paul Davis is joining us. How's it going, Paul?
Brian, thank you much for having me. Thank you guys for trying out some of our brews.
Oh, absolutely. Do you have one in hand tonight?
I do. I'm actually, you know what, I really hope to have somebody else's beer at this point in time, and I will in about 12 seconds or so. I'm drinking the Burger Brow as well.
Awesome. Nice. Great. So for those that are watching now live, you can go to the sblpodcast.com and chat. If you're watching live and want to tweet, you can hashtag SBL Podcast or tweet any one of us, and we can ask Paul anything. He said the door's open. We can ask him whatever we want. So no questions too crazy.
Even about that time in the 60s.
I was big born. Those rumors aren't true. I'm not as old as I am.
That's awesome. Well, so Paul, as you know, you actually watched a couple episodes, and we appreciate when brewers take the time to check it out. But we try to reach more past New England, and we have a good audience from the West Coast and the Midwest. So a lot of folks might not know about your brewery. Would you mind giving us a little background for those that might be new to Prodigal?
Absolutely, Brian. Thank you. And, I really want to thank you for letting me follow up Ken Grossman and John Kimmich. There's no higher bar there, right?
You're headlining. They opened for you.
Oh, well, hey, Ken Grossman, 30 years in waiting. We're a small little brewery. As you can see, I'm actually talking to you tonight from our 240-year-old farmhouse here in lovely rural home of effing good beer, thanks to the artesian water that comes spouting out of the side of Green Mountain. And amazingly enough, because my wife is incredibly talented and has a great career, we have modern technology we're not actually talking to with a couple tin cups and a string. So we're thankful to be here, and everybody who's seen us at some Brew Fest, you might actually be able to get some of our beer in bottles as we have just started rolling out into stores.
Nice.
Nice.
Now, stores close.
Yeah,
wide,
our beer is available close to you as long as you live close to me.
Nice.
And that, and 8 people makes my entire market. But we have been selling at farmers markets all summer up here in Carroll County, and it's been fantastic for us. Not just for our local folks, but for some people visiting our lovely area up here. It's been a nice way for us to try some of these many different beers that we've been brewing.
Nice.
And
Cool.
what people think.
So I guess we can start out by talking about, do you have a flagship beer, or are all beers your flagships?
No, you know what? It's funny. I started talking about my flagship beer before it was the flagship beer because it's the beer I wanted to drink and wanted to make, and pretty much the entire reason why I moved here and started this brewery. The Effingham Burger Brow is a Munich Helles, and I have a lot of trouble finding really fresh Munich Helles on the store shelves, and even harder time on tap handles unless I'm in downtown Boston. And this water's great for it. It's what I want to beer, what I want to brew, what I want to drink, and it's what I'm drinking right now, at least until I move my way up to my fine Tuckermans, which is waiting next up.
Very nice.
And
Now,
is ways that we're operating within this somewhat loose framework of German ales and lagers, fresh brewed up here. They're really, anything that's ever been brewed in Germany, I'm not allergic to trying.
Well, he dropped off the call real quick, so we'll just keep it going until he joins back up, which I think should be easy. But which could be a great time to talk about what's going on this weekend. We talked about it last year. We had a whole show on it, and this weekend, big. Well, I'm not even gonna talk about that. Here he comes.
Am I?
Yeah,
Oh,
gotcha.
there you go.
That's what you get for putting an iPad in the farm,
Do you know how far we have to drive to get an iPad up here to the farm?
It's great. So where were we? You were talking about your beers.
The Burger Brow, yeah.
Yes.
The fresh German ales and lagers up here on the farm. I'm an Irish Catholic kid from south of Boston, but when I previously worked up in this area, we had a wonderful water supply at Castle Springs that was great for making German beers. And we made some wonderful West Coast style India Pale Ales and porters, but this was always the beer I wanted to make. So when it came time for me to decide to start my own business, my wife and I decided to move up here and utilize this incredible water source to make pretty authentic German beers. Unfortunately, fortunately, whatever, the one who came up with effing good lager, and therefore I had to find a place in Effingham. Anybody who doesn't know, this is a pretty small town.
Yes, it is.
So, but it's a lovely town, and our neighbors have been fantastic. So it's great to be up here. It's great to be in Carroll County, and great to be at the crossroads between Burlington, Portland, and Boston. If you're on the way to any of those 3 fine destinations and happen to curse your way through here.
Nice. Now, for those that are not familiar with New Hampshire, if we were to throw a dart at the map, maybe some surrounding towns.
Yeah, we're on Route 16, so this is the route you go when you're going from Portsmouth to North Conway to go skiing.
Yep.
When you need to take a pee break in West Ossipee, take a right, and then you're in Effingham.
Bam. So there you go, folks. If you're driving there now, listen to this. Perfect directions right there.
There you go. Don't come visit us, man. We're in a small farm.
Now, I guess, would you mind? I'm drinking the Socopee Pills.
Yes, sir.
Want to give us a little tale behind this beer?
Absolutely. We are a family farm up here, and we have some crops we planted specifically for the brewery. We have an organic hop certification. We also grow raspberries, blueberries, rye, and buckwheat. Well, my wife is a professional beekeeper, and I wanted to do a beer that utilized honey in some way, shape, or form. I'm a big fan of German-style Pilsners. I love the Czech Pilsners, but I love the German-style Pilsners for being a little bit drier, a little bit more citrusy, and the honey allows us to get that citrusy flavor and allows me to use an enormous amount of Tetmangs, which I'm really happy with, to give me that nice, almost spearminty hoppy taste. So that's one reason why we're doing a honey pilsner, is to utilize one of our farm ingredients. It's something we're going to be doing. We're actually growing our own rye. We do a couple rye beers. And by next year, we should have all the farm stuff up and running and should be able to utilize rye, our own buckwheat, our own hops, our own raspberries. We're doing whatever beers may come. But I needed to start with the recipes first.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So,
I did show people I could do a hoppy beer.
So, Paul, I've been drinking at beers at festivals for a few years now, but it seems like the brewery is like slowly getting started. I was wondering if you could talk about some of the issues getting started from the point now you are, because I remember, I think 3-4 years ago, the first time I saw you at a festival.
You know, one of those nice things. You know, if you want to start a brewery, the worst occupation you can have is a brewer, because your 401ks don't look that great, and your 1040s look even worse. And we really did want to start this brewery on a bit of a shoestring, so we didn't have to answer to anybody. And my wife has been incredibly perseverant in helping get this thing on board. We joked that it's been 3 to 6 months for 3 to 6 years. And now we're actually, plus 3 to 6 days. Our beer is in stores. There's 4 of them around us, but they're in stores now.
Yay!
And really, I've been in this industry long enough. I really wanted to make sure if I was going to put my name to something, I got it right. And I will tell you that in the last 5 years we've been here, I've gotten it wrong as much as I've gotten it right. And I'm really glad I do that and have my beers available widely. So I'm relearning how that wheel goes round and round. And I think we're finally at that point where I'm comfortable with the beers we're putting out here, putting my name to it, and allowing and having folks try our stuff and give us some feedback. And I think we're in a good place. But it's been a slow go. I mean, let's face it, the world's been broken for the last 6 years, and I think that investigating how to do this on a shoestring has made me a smarter businessman. I knew I was a decent brewer, but I didn't know I was a decent businessman until I could figure out how to do this on the shoestring.
So speaking of, shoestring and kind of creative ways of get going, do you want to talk a little bit about the Kickstarter campaign that you guys did as part of your fundraising?
Sure, absolutely. We entered this great place a little over a year ago, where we had been slowly piecing our dream equipment together. I had very specific needs for what kind of brewery I wanted, especially the brew house, to produce the authentic German beers we wanted to make. I found it, and unfortunately or fortunately, I found it in Vancouver Island, British Columbia. And we could swing purchasing the brew system, but the shipping from Vancouver to Effingham was a little tight.
Yeah.
And we said, there's been a lot of people who have asked us over the last few years, what can we do to help? How can we help get your beer on the store shelves? What can we do to help? And we get a real nice opportunity to have those folks who have supported us before or looking for a way to support us currently to help us out a little bit, get the brewery here, and then always have this status as essentially a founding member. And I will take this time to say that I think one of those real kicks that got us rolling was Norm did a wonderful article for us that was picked up by everybody, and it really, really helped us get the word out, because the word at that point in time was going to friends and family. This brought a lot of different people into the equation that didn't know me, didn't know my wife, didn't know about this brewing thing, but thought that our idea was solid and great and backed us. And to this group of people, our 105 backers that allowed us to get this system shipped from Vancouver Island, British Columbia, to Effingham, New Hampshire, they're always going to have a special place in my heart. So I think that it was a wonderful way for us to go. It was an interesting thing. We picked the number not quite out of a hat. It was 6,324 pints of beer on the wall. For anybody who wants to do the math, it's actually the amount of pints in one of our 10 hectoliter lagering tanks.
Nice, nice.
We thought an interesting number that it was something tangible.
Mm-hmm.
Be kind of cool. And Carla, you're on the wall of fame, and
Yep.
and
And I have to say, just as a side note, there are a lot of breweries that have tried to raise funds on Kickstarter. Some that have been successful, some that haven't. And I think you just kind of put the nail on the head there, is one of the things that makes them more successful is it's a tangible thing. It's going to one particular effort, and that it went from the community out further around. Kind of that's the way to do it. If you try to raise $500,000 to get yourself completely started up, it's not going to go as far as a real focused effort to get one step further along the pathway. So congrats! I'm really glad to see that it got funded.
Well, thank you. And one of the neat things that I had as a reaction with handing out some of the rewards, I tried to do as much of this by person as humanly possible. I wanted to shake people's hands. I wanted to thank them personally. And one of the more interesting remarks I got back was, this was about as selfish an act as I could ever do. I've always loved your beer and I wanted to have more of it. I'm like, well, that's great. That's just really the market working the way it's supposed to. People deciding who they wanted to see beers on the store shelves for, not the banks.
Right.
Well, I think he did it right because, like Carla said, if a brewery goes from asking for everything to start, but your beers have been, like you said, been out there for a couple of years. I had a chance to try it. So I still think to this day it's the only brewery I ever wrote about as a Kickstarter, because I had your beer before. I knew it was good, so I didn't mind writing about it. I don't like writing about breweries asking for money Kickstarter if I haven't tried the beers. So I think that's probably a better way for other breweries, if they want to do it too, is at least get started yourself before you ask for everything.
Right.
It was an interesting reaction to the positives and the negatives we got from the banking industry, and as we tried to secure our financing for that last little peg. We'd already been legal. We'd already been producing commercial batches for those couple small places that were carrying us, and this was to get it started. And I thought that it was the right move because everybody would ask what they could do to help, meant it genuinely, and now they always will have that special place in our heart, and I hope they will know what they helped bring to fruition, because without them, quite honestly, we were that tight, it wouldn't have happened.
It feels like a good, kind of a good exclusivity in the beginning, at least for the beer drinker. Because I remember I think it was my first time at the Barley Pub of the old Barley Pub in Dover, and I had my first pint of Prodigal, and it felt like it was something that if you can get your hands on this beer, or this brewery is small, and it just seemed like you're so far away, and we're having it here. It just that kind of got the excitement going. I'd imagine just where can you get this? Well, this place or farther.
Yeah, or never. And as a postscript to this brewing system has been online since May. It took us that long to get everything all hooked up. You wouldn't believe what it takes to get a boiler certified installer in the months of September, October, and November in northern New England. Go figure. But it got done, and the first batch of beer that was made on that brewing system was actually debuted at the American Craft Brewers Festival this past June. And it made me feel good to be able to do that, because a lot of the people that were coming to that fest were responsible for us getting to that point.
That's great.
And even so, Paul, I don't think everyone may realize it, that the year before at the ACBF, you actually honored everybody that helped you out by putting you and Kate put all their names up behind your booth to thank them for participating in the Kickstarter, which was a lot of people came up to the booth just to ask and say, "Oh, is my name up there?" And they were very proud to be a participant in that.
That was great, and it actually wasn't the only place that the Wall of Beer showed up. It also showed up at the Southern New Hampshire Brewers Festival that past summer down in Hooksett, and through modern technology, made it out to the Great American Beer Festival last year in Denver. We reprinted up the Wall of Beer. So essentially, it had a year-long tour around some of the finer beer events in the country, and it was really kind of neat. For a lot of these people who were actually from the West Coast, Mitch Steele got a chance to go ahead and see his name on the Wall of Beer in Denver last year, and I thought that was kind of cool because he's been such an inspiration to me all along. So I was really kind of neat. It was a learning experience, and also I think it put me in the frame of mind to see myself as trying to pay it forward to those who are trying to come up that pike as to what I could do to help. I made sure I tried to back as many projects as humanly possible that I thought were worthy of getting kickstarted. And so it involved me in a community I think is really doing something good for bringing innovative things to market.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now, Paul, one of the things that another thing that people may not realize is that Prodigal Brewing is really it's a family, and not just the people who have helped support you, but if you go to a Prodigal a booth where you guys are at a festival, you won't find just Paul. You'll find your wife and your daughter, and there's not many people. Actually, I can think of only one other couple in New England that actually bring the wife comes and the son comes. So it's an interesting aspect. I don't know if you could talk about some of that experience that you've had so far.
Absolutely. This is always designed to be my family business, and by family that meant everybody got to come to everything. And we have chosen what events we do based on that to a degree. I know I saw Carla, Brian, and Sean last weekend at the Exeter Powder Keg Chili and Beer.
Oh yeah, that was awesome.
And you know what? This was only the second year, but one of the reasons I just chomped at the bit to do it again was because they were so accepting of the fact that I was bringing my little one there to be part of this larger fall festival that they had put on. To the degree where she remembers from last year that there was a costume parade, so she made sure she got her best princess dress going.
Oh yeah.
It moved it a couple weeks earlier. They didn't have the costume parade. She didn't care. She was in costume. She was happy to be there. She actually refers to every farmer's market we do as a beer festival. and it's one of those unique things you get to do is pick accounts, pick festivals, pick events for those that are family friendly, because I think that brewing beer on a farm in Effingham, New Hampshire should allow you access to a family friendly atmosphere. We always try and do that here at the farm, and I'm very happy to those who have opened their arms to my whole family and allowed them into these special events for our business.
Great.
So, Paul, you've been brewing for a long time now. Can you talk a little about your history, where you got started, and some of the places you've brewed over the years?
Absolutely, yeah. I drank a lot of beer in college, which meant I ended up with a liberal arts degree. I started off as
English right here.
That's perfect.
And so I ended up with 6 months of chemical engineering and 3.5 years of political science, which means I had a bartending degree. And I bartended for a while around the southern part of the country and got to meet lots of interesting people. And during that time, I started homebrewing back in the early 90s. Primarily because most of the beers that I was trying were imports that were not readily available, and when I had them, they really just stuck in my head that, oh my goodness, this is a great beer. I'm not going to be able to get it from somebody else. I might try and make it myself to at least come close. Luckily, my mother worked for a college up here in New Hampshire, and I said, okay, in 1995, I said, what is it I need to do to become a professional brewer? I'm ready to leave this bartending gig behind me and embrace my destiny to become a brewer. She came up with a couple entries, which was the Siebel Institute in Chicago, Illinois, and the University of California at Davis, which had a craft brewer's apprenticeship called the American Brewers Guild at that point in time. And I said, well, it's January, and it's cold in Chicago, but it's not in Sacramento. So I ended up going out to the University of California at Davis and studying with Dr. Michael Lewis and Ashton Lewis and the gang at the American Brewers Guild, and I learned all the things you never ever want to learn about making beer, which is how to make it badly and not to do that ever again. And when I came back to New Hampshire where my mother lived, my brother greeted me at the airport with a headline from the Union Leader that Castle Springs would break ground in a new brewery in Moultonborough, New Hampshire, which wasn't too awfully far from where they lived in Salmon. I was just the first guy in line for the assistant brewer's position that didn't exist. And a gentleman named Richard Young took me under his wing. He was from Seabright Brewing Company in Santa Cruz. I'd say he taught me everything he knew, but I think he did even more than that. He taught me how to love making beer and love what we were doing, and showed me how important having this incredible water source was to making great beer. And I was blessed to brew the first batch of beer at Lucknow in Moultonborough and to brew the last batch of beer at Lucknow, and moved on from the closing of Lucknow in 2002 to a lovely place down in Hartford, Connecticut called Troutbrook, where I had a chance to try bringing that small brewery back to life, and gave me pretty much carte blanche to come up with the styles we were going to make, with the exception of the former flagship beer being an American Pale Ale. I was given the recipe sheet that was exactly one line long onto how to make the Hooker Pale Ale in Hartford. Some people would be really upset by that, but it gave me a lot of outs, because the one thing it said on there is it had a certain kind of hop I didn't want to use, so I changed that. And came up with Thomas Hooker American Pale Ale. And I was blessed to work at Troutbrook and then Thomas Hooker until June of 2007, shortly after I'd gotten married to my lovely wife, and decided that a great place for us to raise our child, hopefully children, was in New Hampshire. She wanted a horse. We had a quarter acre in Middletown, Connecticut. There was no horse parking outside of Eli Cannon, so we decided to move up to New Hampshire. And fast forward, not so fast, 6 years. Here we are at Prodigal Brewing Company. The prodigal son returns to this fine water source to brew German-style lagers for folks who've been asking for it. So for all those people who have kept their support up for all those years, we thank you. We raise a glass and say, fresh lager for all.
Hey, cheers to that.
Fresh lager for all. Here, here.
All right, sip. Everyone, cheers break there. Grab a glass.
I'm drinking a Brewery Bud.
Our new Brewers Guild.
That's great. So you just started selling to farmers markets recently?
Yeah, we started in June.
Yeah.
Where we have a 20-acre organic farm, we've grown quite close to our farming friends from Carroll County. And it was interesting. We introduced ourselves just as this new family farm down in Effingham, and we happened to mention we made beer, and one of the gentlemen in Wolfboro said, "Oh my gosh, we have to have you at our farmers market." I said, "Not really quite sure that's legal." And I'm sure that other people in the state asked that same question, and it came to bear that a few years ago, some folks managed to get some legislation through Concord that allowed us to sell our craft brewed beer from our farm at farmers markets. We thought it fit in very well with the other products available at farmers markets. There's fresh bread, fresh produce, fresh a beef jerky for brewers who like to never sit down while they brew.
Awesome.
Potatoes, carrots, all these great things at the farmers market, and how nice a locally made beer looked in that grocery basket. And we decided this was a great way for us to introduce our beers to the locals. This was always meant to be a brewery for our friends and neighbors, and anybody who wanted to join our friend and neighbors. But I wanted to make sure that the beer was good, available, and cost effective for our neighbors, and that's what the farmers market tested and proved. So it's been great. It's been really
Paul.
retail sales here at the brewery. It's been a great way for me to get out and chat with people.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge fan of the Exeter Farmers Market, the one in Portsmouth, because they actually bring, for throwback for this example, brings their growlers out, so you don't have to worry about where they are if you can't get to them. But hopefully you'll make your way down towards my neck of the woods with that maybe next year if that's in the cards.
We'll see. We'll see. We
Otherwise, I'll sell it for you. So
God bless you for it. Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. It's interesting because it would not have been a market I might have traditionally targeted. I can't tell you how many people I've had come up go, well, I don't really like beer, but I have friends coming over for dinner and we're cooking this, and what beer would you suggest for that?
That would be almost my same feeling of walking through a farmer's market. Is I don't like that vegetable, but what do you have for beer?
Sean, you don't like vegetables at all.
What's really neat is it's a great way for us to get our girls onto the idea of eating good, really fresh, local stuff. It's better. Nothing about any philosophy. They just like it better.
Speaking of,
I think we're gonna ask the same thing.
Oh, okay. So I'll intro it. You take it.
Okay.
So Sean is the chat guru. For those that listen and watch, we have a chat room going on. A lot of people in it, and they ask questions. And I think Sean's about to ask one.
Yeah, it kind of goes along with what you're saying about farmers market and being on a farm. This came from Bruce.
Yeah.
Bruce wants to know if you guys grow any ingredients that you use in your beer, or even in your case, if you're at the farmers markets, are you getting any ingredients from these farmers markets for your beer?
What's really interesting about getting ingredients from other farmers, it's something I think we'd really look into because it could be quite interesting. Yeah, we actually have had organic hop crowns in the ground for almost 4 years. I will admit that our infrastructure is a little bit behind the times because we've been spending so much time getting the brewery up and running. But it is our intention to, at some point in time, again, I mentioned that my wife's a beekeeper, that we have raspberries, we have blueberries, we have rye, we have buckwheat. Go ahead and extrapolate those into potential beers. I hope at some point in time to be able to produce an estate-only beer because I'd get such a kick out of estate. I think I might have to put it in parentheses or in quotation marks.
Maybe brackets.
Some kind of thing to the estate.
Yeah.
Our friends out in Sierra Nevada. But yeah, I really think that one of our goals is to bring the brewing tradition back to the farm. I think that wine has done a wonderful job of being able to maintain that relationship of the farm to the finished product. And I don't want to say that brewing has lost its way in that way, but there are some folks who consider beer just a manufactured product that can happen anywhere in the world, and I really want them to know that it comes from agricultural processes. You know, there was a hop crunch a few years ago because there were problems in agriculture growing hops, and demand exceeded it and responded correctly, but you know, we're in an agricultural business. And I think if I could bring that home in a very small way, then maybe people will understand that it's important to keep these farms and preserve these farms because somebody has to grow the barley, somebody has to grow the wheat, somebody has to grow the hops, somebody has to grow the yeast, but we'll leave that to San Diego. And the other big thing for us is we have just such a great water source. That's a vital ingredient. I don't have this water source other places. I can't turn on the faucet and have it on in any other place in the U.S. I'm here for that reason. So I think that these farmer markets are really helping people see where we fit in that spectrum of fresh produce, fresh eggs, fresh milk, fresh bread. Beer goes right along with it.
It only adds to your, very, very good following of local folks because you're using ingredients that are from the fans of your beer. So it all it's a big circle of life right there. But all this talk about farmers markets, our chat room has turned on Sean, and they're trying to quiz him on when the last time was he ate a vegetable, and we've created a mutiny with this farmers
I ate
market.
fried vegetables at the Great Lost Bear today.
Ooh, all right.
Fried pickles or fried
No,
zucchini?
they actually have just an appetizer that's fried veggies. So it's like carrots and cauliflower and broccoli and zucchini and it's just like this pile of the fried stuff. And you're like, I don't know what shape this vegetable is, but it's delicious.
It's
Well,
lightly
I'll come to Sean's defense here. I grew up in the public school system of Massachusetts. Ketchup's a vegetable, man. Go for it.
Yeah.
Go.
There you go.
I know French fries at Leominster High were the vegetable we got.
Yeah, there you go.
Grade D. So Sean, we got another question, right?
Oh, well, I just have a question first myself. So
Ooh, boy.
I have a different beer which is called Curse of the Rye Wolf, unfiltered rye beer with the Wolf Man.
Yes.
Now, who is that? Who is the picture on the label?
The man on the label is a dear friend of mine named Jason Sanderson. I should amend that and say His Honorable Eminence, Archbishop Jason Sanderson of the Liberal Catholic Church of Northern New England. He is father to two wonderful boys who go to school with my kids. He's a writer. He is, as I mentioned, Archbishop of the Liberal Catholic Church. He is the gentleman who blessed our brewery about 2 months ago so that we could actually commence production because I'm very superstitious. And he fit the bill. And I wanted to do something to honor him. And he said, you got this wolf beer, and it has a whole other story. Curse the Rye Wolf's a whole other story. And if you have another 14 hours, I'll fill you in. But I wanted to show local characters and almost inside jokes. Effingham. We all laugh about Effingham up here because nobody knows where it is, but they always go through it. We wanted local characters to embody our beers, and Jason is everything to do with what we're about, which is a caring father who loves his kids, brings them to a very special school that our girls go to, and he has this past life as the Wolfman. And the best way I can explain why he's on that label is he tells wonderful stories. And he had some dental surgery when he was originally the Wolfman in New England professional wrestling. When Jason smiles, Jason has fangs. You will never forget that Jason comes from somewhere else and is here. And we just get a kick out of it. As a matter of fact, I think we got 2 more farmers markets in Tamworth the next couple weekends. We might have Jason come by to sign a couple bottles or so because we're all about the local scene and our local characters that make Carroll County a wonderful place to live.
You pay $5 and he gives you a DDT or something, or?
No, not at all.
Great wrestling joke. I knew we could get one in there.
Right.
We have the ideas. We've been talking about a magazine piece, and I'm afraid to ask him for this picture to put finishing move because I don't know what it is. And I don't want
He's probably got one, though.
Oh, yeah. A guy like that has got a finishing move.
He looks a little bit like Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, mated with,
Earthquake.
I don't know, George Animal Steel.
Yes.
Yep. Great, sweet guy, but may look like a wrestler.
I was gonna say he looks like Big John Stud.
Okay, we've turned into a wrestling podcast.
And he goes to church every Sunday.
Modern pictures of him, so you can see him with his cross and his glasses and his kind disposition.
Now, are there any? This is gonna make me sound like I don't live in New Hampshire, but are there any bars up by the brewery in which you serve your beers?
Not quite yet. We're looking to have some bars have our stuff on draft here in the next month or so. We're buying cooperage as we speak, and I can say anybody who knows me knows that our first draft account will be the Barley Pub in Dover.
Hey.
And I hope to have, oh my goodness, I hope at least a log of Oktoberfest for them by the end of the month.
Okay, so just let us know, and we'll go check QC.
Yeah, we'll do some QC for you. We'll check that. Make
Well,
sure
there we
that's
go. There's the log all gone. At least I made it out by the end of October.
Yeah, you don't want to. You don't have
Our farmers
Oktoberfest
markets
in.
were so successful that I didn't have a hole in my brewing schedule actually for getting the Oktoberfest into the lineup till the end of August. So that's why we're rolling our Oktoberfest out so late. But hey, last week of the month is good enough for me.
Yeah, well, I mean, and if for those that still aren't sick of it, I mean, I'm a big Oktoberfest fan. I know Norm is. I mean, you're running low, Norm, right, on your
I'm down
Oktoberfest?
to a couple Oktoberfest. I hit the store up again by the end of the week.
All right. So yeah,
We're
there's
working on our spring beer as you speak.
So, Paul, I'm just curious about what your brewing capacity is right now and your plans going forward about expansion. I know more bottles getting further down to south in New Hampshire. I think I talked at the ACF. You were hoping to do bottles and maybe reach Massachusetts sometime next year. I'm just wondering if that's still in the works.
Our current brew system actually allows us to produce 4.25 barrels of beer per brew, and we have fermenters that 8.5 barrels, and so we double brew into those. We hope by the middle of November to be producing about 10 barrels of beer a week. That'll probably continue through the spring. That takes care of eastern New Hampshire, and then probably western Maine by the summer, and then by the fall, hopefully northern New England. Yes, Carla, it's my dream to be on tap at Novari Race. Eric's been bugging me since before we bought this property, so that's kind of our plan. We envision being able to brew 500 barrels of beer on this current system with the ability to expand to 1,000 barrels by the summer, and then we would investigate what it takes to essentially double that size within about 18 to 24 months. Really, it's our goal to only be in, should I say finer establishments? That doesn't sound quite right.
only the top establishments.
Sure, Maine and
Topless?
Massachusetts by the end of 2014.
Great. Do you have any more chat questions, Sean? Do we have one more lingering?
We did. Let's see here. Well, you kind of asked it because I was asking where you can get the where you can get the beer on draft.
Do you now? Can we get your bottles right from your brewery? Do you have a sort of a retail shop?
We do not. We do not. We're in a kind of an interesting situation here. Our family farm is in a pretty rural location in Effingham, and we decided that the best way for us to have a public persona was to go to the farmers markets. I can't say that there will never be any kind of retail or tour potential here at the brewery, but at this point in time, we are a small family brewery with a small family farm in a rural area with goats and cats and kids, and we're not really interested in utilizing the property as a retail location right now. I can't say that'll never change. Luckily, my neighbors have been so supportive that should anybody actually come looking for the brewery, they might not get shot in the driveway.
Yes, because there are a couple breweries in Mass, or one, in fact, where the neighbors don't like that brewery. So, Treehouse, for example.
We use an adjective, and that's not too cool.
No, yeah. I mean, and plus, if you're making beer, bring the neighbors over. I mean, they should love a place like that.
The neighbors will understand that when the door is open and a certain kind of tacky 70s music is playing, that I might be making beer.
There's steam rising out of the brew house.
Dancing Queen playing in the background.
Every once in a while, oh no, I'll get tackier than that.
Oh,
Disco ball.
Sounds of the 70s, yeah.
Yeah. But for those that are looking for the bottles, or want
we'll
to
have those on our website.
Yes.
We'll update the locations on our website, both draft and bottle. My wife is a technological whiz, as shown by the fact that I'm actually talking to you right now.
Yeah, it's awesome.
High five.
And as those accounts come online, they will be on our website, on our Facebook page, and look for us to transition from this farmers market marketing to draft and bottles in finer beer stores and restaurants around eastern New Hampshire in the next 4 to 6 months.
And I beg of you, those that are listening or watching, and you happen to see the Prodigal in a list of brewers at a beer fest, don't think twice about going just because of that. But you seem to always bring a good cask beer, and I'm always trying to get a cask where I can, and you seem to do it right. So I applaud your at least. It's pretty nerve-wracking to bring a cask to a fest for some brewers, but you do it.
Thank you. Well, that's actually how we produce all our beer. All our beer is krausened and so naturally carbonated, filtered. And I've been a big fan of what Cask, our friends down in Massachusetts, have been doing with introducing cask conditioned beers to retail outlets, and anything I can do to help out to introduce cask lagers into the scene, I've been a big fan of. I think it's a great way to try our beer. It's slightly different. When you have, we don't filter, but when you have our beer in bottles, it's been moved down line and it's in its settled out final condition in the bottle. It does take on a different life when it is in cask, and it's a great thing to talk about at festivals.
Definitely.
The differences perhaps between the Effingham Burger Brow in a bottle and maybe the Effingham Burger, whatever Keller beer I will throw on to make that name longer on draft at a festival. You can kind of see where the beer comes from and where it goes to. And I think Cask is a great way to demonstrate that. And those folks at Cask with the Darax festivals have really done a lot to teach people about the fine art of handling beer and dispense.
Great. I think we have time for another, one more question. Let's see, what are we going on here? Oh, so we're sort of near the end of the show, but we like to kind of toss the ball back to you. Is there anything that you've kind of laid out the groundwork of where you're going in the future, but is there anything new and upcoming for Prodigal that you want to shout out?
You know, the thing is I have been doing the farmers markets all summer long. We are rolling into stores, and anybody who only views me through that prism will think I do nothing but light beers and wheat beer. Welcome to the cold weather of northern New England. We will be doing some darker, heavier, harder beers. I am a big fan of Bock beer. It has been my goal with this brewery to do upwards of 5 different kinds of Bock beer every year because I think it's an unappreciated style that could use a little bit more attention. It's my favorite stuff to drink, and you will be seeing our Baltic Porter in the next month. You'll be seeing our Oktoberfest in the next week. We are playing with some stuff for stronger beers that are barrel aged over the winter. If I do this right, who knows? I might really break the law and come up with a great ice bock. I don't know. But my brewery gets pretty cold in January. You never know what could happen if you have an oak.
You could call it the F-Bock, like an effing bock.
F-Bock. All names. I hadn't named beers outside of a couple handful of names over the last 12 years of my brewing career, and I think I've gone overboard with having too much fun with alliterative long names for beers.
Well, isn't the Baltic Porter the Necromancer?
No, the Baltic Porter is the Reverend Potter is Baltic Porter, and if you can say that after the third one, you get a fourth.
Oh, nice.
Which one was the Necromancer?
I messed it up in the press more than a few times. Reverend Porter's Baltic Potter isn't that great. But yeah, we are into the Necromancer is actually an oak aged imperial stout that's lagered. I don't know if that makes any sense to anybody, except for I have a great yeast strain that likes to go a little bit stronger than 8%, and I wanted to do some kind of really, really, really big Schwarzbier that had some really unique characteristics to it that you might not pick up in an imperial stout, where you have some more fruity characters coming to the forefront, that you might allow that lager yeast to come through in a final product, a la Semi-Klaus.
So
I mean, Semi-Klaus, Ken Grossman, you know, all on the radar.
Love it.
Santa Claus.
Oh, boy. So to round out the show, we usually have Sean ask our brewer guests a final question, and we want to just raise a glass because you are our 31st brewer on the show. So we've been trying to ask the same kind of question to round out the show. So
excellent.
Sean,
So,
get it.
so Paul, with all the different breweries out there, either in progress or even got their license last year, they're kind of the newer guys are kind of looking to the experienced people out in the industry for some advice. If someone comes up to you tomorrow and says, "Hey, I want to start a brewery. Can you give me any tips or advice?" What would you actually tell them?
It's actually a very easy answer. Follow your passion. I think that a lot of people can give you a good rote list of why not to do this. I might be able to give you a longer list than most, being what we've gone through in starting this brewery, but I think our industry thrives on feeding off the passion of the people involved. If you want to do this, if you want to be involved in this industry, first thing is follow your passion. Second thing is we're here to help you. Um, I have stayed in this industry because at my lowest points in trying to do what we've been trying to do, it's been my brewer friends that have kept me going. And actually, Ken Grossman is my inspiration because at my lowest point, he essentially told me a story of how he started Sierra Nevada, and it was so frighteningly similar to what we started here. Um, it gave me pause. So I say, follow your passion. Don't let anybody tell you you can't do it. Make sure you make good beer, and make sure if you're having a problem making good beer, you pick up that phone and you call one of your brothers or they hear help. And I think if we do that, then we'll end up with a strong industry, and we'll end up with happier people drinking craft beer, and we can raise our glass to the people around the world and say we could do it as good as anybody else.
Great answer. That's perfect. I mean, a lot of folks, a lot of brewers have touched on the fact that the brewers' friendship is great, but it just you guys need to go to a beer fest to experience such a thing too, because they're laughing next to each other. You're completely separate breweries, but you guys are almost, it looks like almost best friends. A lot of some of these people. It's cool.
Pretty much anybody that's at one of those beer festivals, I've called and asked a favor from, and they have not even hesitated. And we're not talking about small favors. We're talking about pretty big favors. I won a medal on my 5th batch at Prodigal Brewing Company based on the fact that Todd Mott went back and checked a label on a bag of malt that let him know it wasn't what he thought was in there. It went into that beer, it won a medal. It was that kind of really paying extra attention to how can I help my friend out that helped us get here. And I hope that something we can do as an industry is see that passion and be able to figure out the people who are in it for making great beer, differentiate them from the people looking to make lots of money. Because there's not lots of money in this industry. There's just lots of great friends.
That's awesome. But before we let you go, do you have any events coming up that you want to shout out? Are you going to be anywhere in the next couple weeks?
You know what? We are finishing our farmers market season at Tamworth Farmers Market up in Tamworth, New Hampshire on the 19th and the 26th. We will be rolling bottles into stores in Carroll County over the next month. And when I brew and have Baltic Porter ready, you'll start seeing that on draft as we move down towards the seacoast. Event-wise, I have a daughter who turns 13, which means that my events for the next 6 to 8 years are pretty much planned. A rocking chair, a shotgun, and a fine Scotch ale.
or a crossbow, or a
or at least some well-trained cats. But you will be hearing from us, and I thank everybody for their patience, because I think in the end we will have built this brewery with the love and kindness of our friends, and we haven't had to compromise, and I think that's kind of neat to be able to do a beer that I think we want to do that is desperately needed out there and is appreciated, and I don't have to explain why we're not doing something else. And anybody can do something else. These are the beers I want to brew, and I hope we're responsive to the people who have gotten us to this point.
Well, we're gonna raise a glass to you guys because I'll speak for everyone where we're so pumped you can come on the show because we're huge fans and we see you everywhere and we cannot wait to see you in bottle shops and finer stores across the New Hampshire and New England. But cheers, Paul, and thanks again for coming on.
Cheers.
Thank you guys.
Cheers.
Keep doing this. This is a lot of fun to watch. It's fun to participate in. It's more fun to watch.
Ah,
I mean,
always.
yeah, we'll have you on.
Great beer, and we'll all be better off for it.
Absolutely.
Well, Paul, I mean, we can let you go now, and we'll make sure that Sean gets you the link to the video and all of that, so you can actually watch yourself on your own TV or iPad.
Well, we never even got to the point where I had to order a beer from downstairs.
Oh, next time we
Last
promise.
bit of my dear friends from Tuckerman's, I did not have a chance to showcase my that's not Tuckerman's. My fine friends at Tuckerman's.
Woohoo, Tux.
Big fan. Nice.
One of the major moving back to New Hampshire to make great beer.
Nice.
Cool.
Well, Paul, we're gonna let you go now, but we'll be talking to you. And cheers again. Thank you.
Thanks,
Cheers.
Paul.
Thanks so much.
To all, happy Columbus Day to all. Enjoy.
Yes.
Don't drink wine, drink beer.
Thank you.
I want to go to the Barley Pub and drink his beer now.
I'm going right now. See you guys later.
It's not there yet.
I know, but I want it now.
I want it now. Well, I mean, I think those bottles are gonna fly off the shelves pretty quick, right?
No, they are. They are. I'm just
Yeah,
gonna...
but what is it from here? Half an hour, 40? It's 45 minutes probably from here.
To where? To his place?
Yeah. Ish.
It's like 40 minutes.
Yeah, probably up Ossipee.
Yeah. Apostrophe. All right. So after showtime, those that are still kicking around, thank you. I want to give a couple quick shout outs. I went to Boston yesterday, overnight. But yesterday with Ben Watts, beer buddy Ben, for his birthday. Happy birthday, Ben. He is older than I am. And we went to Mead Hall, our first time there.
Never been. How was it?
Oh, it's great. And what's actually even what's neater is we ran into Chad Brodsky of the Boston Brew Tours and Portsmouth Brew Tours and Burlington Brew Tours. But he was giving a tour which ended at Mead Hall, and we were able to go down below deck at Mead Hall and check out their tap system, which is very amazing if you can imagine. But one thing they kept mentioning is you get the beer you order, you get it in the glass of the brewery. You get it in that glass. And they said that if they don't have one washed, you can't get that beer yet. So I thought that was pretty cool. That you have to have little quirky.
That also almost makes it difficult for someone that doesn't have glassware. Because there are some of the small guys out there that just can't afford glassware. So
they give it in solo cups if you can. Then no,
red solo cups.
No, but then we went off to Lord Hobo, which again my first time there too, and I love that place. It's great.
I love that place, yeah.
Oh, it's so cool.
Anyone do anything else crazy this past week?
I did.
Oh boy,
Yeah.
crazy.
Whoa! I was in Cincinnati for a wedding,
Oh.
and I ended up visiting a couple different breweries in Cincinnati and realizing that is a beer destination that
I
many
heard
people
that.
should visit.
What breweries did you go to?
I went to Christian Moorline. I also went to Rock Bottoms in Cincinnati, which was actually it was pretty decent, along with Rheingeist. And I went to a Yard House, along with a Belgian beer bar where they have amazing Belgian waffles. One of the things that we learned about on the tours, Cincinnati actually has a very large underground beer scene because it's literally under the ground, because back in like the late 1800s, early 1900s, a large number of breweries were making like basically German lagers in this area that they called OTR, which is over the Rhine. I guess at one point, and don't quote me on this, they were saying that like early 1900s, about 16% of all the tax revenue that was generated by the government was created by beer generated in Cincinnati. So they had about 25 to 30 different breweries producing large amounts of beer in Cincinnati, kind of sending it east and west, and they were just a really big German hub. And to avoid, well, one of the things I didn't know about refrigeration at the time, and to avoid some of the taxation stuff, they actually built tunnels from places to one to another. There's a brewery called Christian Moreland now. 6 months ago, opened up in an old malt house. Now the brewery Christian Moreland used to be there, and it was a pre-prohibition brewery, and there'd been many different owners, but has now come back to the city. And it kind of looks like big archways in their little pub area, which is really cool. But from there, you can go downstairs, kind of like three to six levels, and of different tunnels and where they used to do lagering.
Sweet.
That is neat.
Yeah, it was really cool.
I've never been to Cincinnati, and there are definitely a bunch of people on Twitter who have convinced me that it is an awesome beer city, and I'm like, that is really cool. The next time I have a reason to go to Cincinnati, I'll have to check that out. But that's really cool to hear.
They also have this world's second biggest Oktoberfest, biggest outside of Germany.
Yeah, and I missed it by a couple weeks.
Yeah, it's supposed to be fantastic.
What else? Carla, Norm, you do anything crazy? Or anything beer related?
I tried to go to Maine Beer Company today because I had the day off, and I forgot that that didn't work out for me very well. But I ended up going over to Gritty's and had a sampler there, and then went to LL Bean, and I had friends with me, so we kind of ran around. This upcoming week, there's an event. This weekend, there's an event at Novares, and I don't remember the name of it.
Res Fest? No, I have no idea.
No, I think it's there.
I missed the cask night. I'm very upset that they have it.
It's the Harvest Festival, so they have like the cider donuts and like good Oktoberfest beers and just really fun stuff on. It's I think it's only one night. It's the Friday, I think, the 18th. But there's also a lot in planning, and I know we're going to talk about this later, but there's beginning to be rumblings about what's going on at Portland Beer Week, which is coming up the first week of November, so everybody's posting all those events up. But the Novare thing going on this weekend is on Friday the 18th. They're doing a bunch of ciders, pumpkin beers, harvest ales, and you can get like cider donuts and stuff. So if you're into all of the fall flavors, it's going to be cool.
Awesome. And Normie, what do you got?
Oh, not much. I just wanted to congratulate the New England winners from the Great American Beer Fest in Colorado this past weekend. Sorry about that.
That's right. I was trying to click them out. Sorry.
Jack's Abbey Brewing from Framingham won the gold medal in the other strong ale category for their Fast Rising second anniversary India Pale Lager. If you had a chance to try that beer, it's fantastic. Also, the other gold medal winner was Mystic Brewery from Chelsea. They won a gold medal in the indigenous beer category for the Vinland 2. If you don't know what that is, the Vinland series is a locally propagated yeast, and they used Maine blueberries and took a yeast culture from that to create the yeast for their beer. The only other brewery with New England ties to win was Samuel Adams, won the gold in the double block category, but technically that was brewed in their Cincinnati brewery. So technically it's...
Which is up the street from me, but the second place in that category, Norm, actually went to Christian Moreline. And the head brewer from Christian Moreline, I learned this yesterday, worked at Sam Adams Brewery there and helped formulate that Doppelbock recipe. And then he formulated the Doppelbock recipe for Christian Moreline and won second place.
That's nice.
Cool.
Very interesting. Double dipping.
Yeah,
Nice.
those are the two winners from New England, both from Massachusetts this year, but both of those are fantastic beers and tons of great beers, won awards in tons of categories. So
Sweet. Do you want to do a quick talk about this weekend in New Hampshire?
I do.
Sweet. Sean, what's coming up this weekend in New Hampshire?
This weekend in Portsmouth, New Hampshire at Red Hook Brewery is the New Hampshire Brew Fest.
Hey.
Hello.
Oh.
We make our own sound effects here. Hey now.
2 sessions Saturday. Afternoon session 1 to 4, evening session 6 to 9. The afternoon session does have a VIP 12 to 4, which is 12 to 4 rather than 1 to 4.
Wait, what? Oh, you mean the first session?
Yeah, the first session.
Gotcha.
Afternoon versus evening.
Oh, for God's sake. And there's a lot of breweries going there.
Yes,
So-
you ready for
One.
it?
Oh, is this not the best fest? One of the best?
It's one
This
of the
is a
best.
pretty good one. I
I
like
don't
it.
know. I had a whole bunch of fun at the Chili Fest though.
It was
The
good.
powder keg, that was cool.
Yeah, that was great. Maybe they can make it a little bigger. Like maybe just take all Swayze Parkway.
Yeah.
But quick rundown of the breweries. Sean, I'll read down to Jack's Abbey, then you take it from there. How about that?
Micro machines. Go.
Oh,
Allagash, Baxter, Boston Beer, Brooklyn, Dogfish, Earth Eagle, Elm City, Godna Ale House, Geary's, Great Rhythm, Harpoon, Henniker, Ipswich, and Jack's Abbey. So
following that, you have Kennebuck Brewing Point, Kennebuck Brewing, which is Federal Jack's, Kennebuck River Pub and Brewery, Kona Brewing, Lagunitas, Long Trail, Martha's Exchange, Oscar Blues, Otter Creek, Portsmouth Brewery, Red Hooks, Sebago Brewing, Shipyard, Smutty Nose, Stone Brewing, Throwback, Traveler Beer Company, Tuckerman's Brewing Company, Whitmer Brewing, and Woodstock Inn Brewery.
And I'll give a quick nod to I think it's Traveler that or some form of that with a Just Beer project. They
Yeah.
had their session IPA. They had it at the Chili Fest, and it's a good IPA.
Yeah, it's all part of the Alchemy and Science division of Samuel Adams, which is owned by, it was run by Alan Newman, the founder of Magic Hat.
Oh right, yep. Did you try it, Norm?
Yeah, it was really good. It's kind of beer that you have to have two of them because they go down so quickly, but they're really good.
Tried it. It was sent to him, I'm sure,
Nice.
in a heart-shaped box.
Is this Jack's Abbey's first New Hampshire Fest?
They were at the Capital Cup.
Oh, okay.
And one more random shout out is that Blue Lobster Brewing in Hampton is on their second bottle release now. You can get their beer at the brewery, at Top Shelf, and at Burt's as well. They have two releases out right now. One is the collaboration with Prairie. There isn't much of that left. And the second is the Piscataqua Weiss, which is the blueberry and plum Berliner Weiss. Both are awesome. So
You tried the second one. Was it good?
Mhm. Yeah,
Okay.
it is very good. It's the first, the Hampton Weiss, the very first one they come out with. Did you have that one?
Yes.
That one is a lot like more tart and more harsh. This was just really well done, awesome Berliner Weiss.
Nice.
But if you're looking for like that level of tartness, it's not exactly the same. Those plums really mellowed it out, but it mellowed it out in a great way.
It's also
So,
like it's like a 2.9%. Like it's
it's a Berliner Weiss, so I think it's under 3, so it
Yeah.
works. And it is definitely a cool it's a cool thing, and they're going to be releasing a third. I'm not sure when, but those two are available in bottles, so go get them.
Yeah, get down there because they're. I mean, there's bottles there, and if you're lucky, they might have a sample of that before, but it's worth the buy anyway. So next week we have a guest, and Earth Eagle. Ever heard of them? So we've been obviously.
Who is it?
Earth Eagle. Alex and Butch brewers at Earth Eagle in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Obviously, we've been getting requests to have them on the show. We've got them on the show. So next week.
Oh, I get to wear my Earth Eagle shirt! Yay!
Same bat time, same bat channel. We're going to have them talking with us, and we can go look out a little in the future to a couple of confirmed people.
Everybody go Google the word Gruit. Gruit.
Yeah, exactly.
With the questions. And then we have two confirmed past that. On the 4th, during Portland Beer Week, we are going to have Dave, is it Clavin?
Yes, close enough.
Of Maine Beer Company.
Yes. And I'm actually going to go to Maine Beer Company and be with them while we can do it over there.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. They don't go over, so that'll be fun.
Carla on site on the
They're on their way
I-10.
home.
The
so,
idea. And then the week after that, we have Chris and Andrea Stanley of Valley Malt. So we've talked to many brewers that use their malts in their beers. So now we get to actually talk to them. And in fact, Rick Brews went to the I forget what it was called, but there was what was it?
Barley Fest?
Yeah, he went there this week and said it was great. Good stuff.
Oh, I hate Rick Brews.
Hey, it's
But
my
I
dad.
love Rick Brews.
Rick Brews. No,
Hey, he
he's
came out to the Norm beer release. You didn't. He's a better person than you.
Rick Brews
Oh,
is driving. Rick Brews
But
is
Norm,
off
he
the
wasn't
map.
at your birthday party.
And guess where Rick Brews is
That's
going to be
true.
this weekend? at the festival this weekend. He'll be there. So if you're a fan of the show, and you see me, I'll point out at Rick Brews, who's always in the chat room. So he'll be there this weekend.
Nice.
I have nothing else to shout out except congrats to Norm on the beer. It's awesome. Carl, I have a bottle for you. Sean, I got a bottle for you.
Yay!
And Ryan, sure, I'll give Ryan.
No, Thirsty No Beer is going to be so pumped. He's going to do backflips.
Yeah, I signed it. I signed it in Norm's name.
Signed by SPL Podcast.
Hashtag. I don't know.
Hashtag SBL podcast.
Is there anything else before we take this offline?
I'm
Oh,
all
my
set.
good.
Sweet. Well, folks, raise a glass to the beer drinker. Even though mine's empty, you can drink for me.
Thank you, everyone.
All right.
Thank you.
See you next week. Bye.
Hey.